When I first said I was getting into esports, a lot of the people I spoke with were former professional owners of franchises in traditional sports, former teammates. I remember telling Shaq, I told Kobe, they didn't understand what it was, but within a year, Shaq became a part of an esport organization. Kobe has explored it. We have a lot of traditional athletes that actually either own or have invested in esports teams.
For as long as video games have existed, there's been a competitive gaming scene, but few recognize the potential of gaming as a spectator sport. It's only over the last decade, with the rise of streaming technology and influx of investment, that esports have been able to grow to what they are today. Many of these investors come from an unlikely place: the world of traditional sports. Today we're talking to former basketball pro Rick Fox, owner of the team 100 Thieves Nadeshot, and the assistant manager of the Golden State Warriors, Kirk Lacob, to examine the connection between esports and traditional sports organizations like the NBA.
So coming from the NBA, for myself personally, having been a part of a competitive environment on a large scale globally, and entering esports and having seeing both communities as having their own value and their own expression of competition, I love that. I saw in so many ways the similarities. I saw two ecosystems standing alone and really impacting the entertainment value for a viewer.
I think it's really interesting that there have been so many NBA owners and NBA players that have invested in esports holistically, but for me it's actually much broader than that. There was a stigma or a stereotype behind gaming for a very long time that you're in your mom's basement, Dorito crumbs, Mountain Dew all day, every day, and that's what gaming was. But now what people don't realize, or what they're quickly realizing, is that video games are pop culture now. All of our athletes and artists that are now coming into popularity and building their careers have started with video games. They grew up with them.
Personally, I've been a video game player since I was a teenager. So the understanding that the games that I love and play had evolved to a place where you could compete professionally and have a career was very interesting to me, because it represented the next generation of professional athletes and gamers.
I work for the Warriors in basketball, and my job spans a lot of things. It spans the actual basketball side, it spans business, it spans kind of new ventures, and we were looking for things that really had a parallel to what we were doing. We're an entertainment company, and gaming is huge. League of Legends is huge.
I am the VP of esports for Clutch Gaming and the Houston Rockets. The thing that really wakes me up and gets me to sleep at the end of the day is the sustainability of our organization and the long-term growth of our organization. We don't want to be just a flash in the pan.
With the influence of traditional sports organizations and the establishment of franchise teams, the infrastructure around LCS is evolving. But what goes into running an esports organization? How is the support affecting the LCS? And how are the conditions changing for players?
As the 2018 season, the sort of format for picking teams changed from a promotion relegation system where teams would come from the lower leagues and take your spot, to one of franchising where teams actually bought their spots and could hold on to it for several years or forever based on how things go.
Historically, a long time ago, when you saw esports teams come to fruition, they weren't making a ton of money. And now that you have capital being invested into the teams, you have a lot more operational ability to go out and sign better players and work on stronger branded deals with non-endemic sponsors that are coming into this space.
With the backing of the Golden State Warriors, we have so many resources at our disposal. We're able to think long-term about things. We're able to think about building something that can last. This includes things like building out a practice facility, making sure our players are housed.
Supporting them with coaches and having general managers that are paying attention to their travel, and then getting them into the competitions they need to be in.
The vast majority of costs with regards to an esports organization is staff, right? And that's just true in I think most industries, but in particular in esports, players are expensive, and they deserve to be expensive. It's a free market. They're working really hard, and they should make the money they do.
All the NBA investors that are investing in the LCS definitely helps LCS become sustainable, since before we didn't really have that good of a salary, and it was more beneficial to stream compared to being salaried as a player. But now that all the investors are here, it definitely helps a lot by being able to just focus on the competitive aspect.
And then on top of that, the operational costs, social media, the type of content we're creating, the video content, that stuff needs to level up over time, and that requires more investment into cameras, into people.
Esports is 24/7, 365 days, and we are building an industry and building on an industry foundation that's been laid long before I showed up. But what I'm hoping to do is add value to this community of esports by delivering on the same passion, the same energy, and there's no off days.
So now that we've identified the similarities between esports and traditional sports, the connection is a whole lot more clear. But what do those who are investing all their time, energy, and money see in the future?
The first thing I think I'd love to see is just much more understanding among the greater world of the different opportunities in esports. We need accountants, we need graphics designers, we need musicians, we need people who can, run our PR, run our social media. We could use everyone, and we can just really use good people.
The future for esports for me is really important, just because it is giving me an opportunity to build a career around something that I love to do. And of course I want to build a great financial business, but what's really, really important for me is to be able to help young kids who were in the same position that I was continue to do what they love to do.
I grew up with the stigmas around video games and I hated them. And so, my journey is simply just to continue to shine a positive light on the impact of what this industry is doing for my son, what it's doing for other kids, what it's done for me in my life in retirement as an NBA player.
We're not just putting in money, but we're putting in time, we're putting in man hours, and we're putting in like our own sweat and blood. And ultimately, it's going to be worth it.
I truly believe esports will be a top 3 sport in the world in the next 5 to 10 years.
Every large gaming event has at least one thing in common: cosplayers. In the next episode of this series, we talk to some incredible cosplayers about what they love about their craft and dive into their workshops to see how they become our favorite characters.